All right, so now let's go a little bit more deeper. And there is a few things I want to talk about the cache, about shading, render setup, and other stuff. And that's why I want to switch into another theme, because it's not such visually represented. If you want to talk about the caching, talk about rendering to work with the simple simulation. So I want to get a little bit more interesting simulation here. So like a large scale sim. And what I have here, I have a camera, add some basic geometry. So it's like a ground here to represent my ground plane for the image. And I have like a smoke from the rocket here. So my main camera, and it's just static camera. Basically, I don't want to animate that. And if I want to, I can play with this on the compositing stage. So I can just track it to some 3D element. Anyway, so the thing is, I want to create like a huge dust cloud. It's not a dust, it's like smoke from the engines, and huge smoke cloud over here. So using this scene, I can more tell about the microsolvers, tell about the caching, visualization, some kind of stuff. All right, so let's begin with the source, and I already prepared some geometry over here, so like a sphere, just simple sphere, and I transform it over here in this position to have like the same setup from here, so we can see the smoke behind this object, so it's looking from here, so I hide my sphere over there. Okay, and we need to create source from this sphere, and I want to use VDB from polygons for creating fog inside of this. So I can go closer to this and just don't need to have this ground. I just disable this for a moment. So I want to see my sphere closely. All right, so I leave 0.1 by default, and then I want to add a scatter node to add some points inside of the sphere. It's gonna be like, I don't know, maybe like 5,000 points. Remove relaxed iterations to make it more randomly, and maybe decrease the voxel size even more, like 0.5, to get a more accurate result. And now I'm going to the pyro source. But before I do that, I want to add a velocity. So basically, I'm going to use the keep input here. And what I want to add is our source smoke. So I want to add a density and temperature. I'm going to play a little bit with the scale, my particle scale a little bit later. So I want to add some velocity. So go to attribute warp. So we definitely should have some noise here, okay? So add velocity. It's not like a linear velocity from into one direction, because we can see there's a lot of noise even here. Okay, so let's go here and let's dive inside in my attribute warp, and let's set up here. So I want to add a parameter. It's going to be a vector. Let's call it maybe like a velocity direction. All right, so we can name it like $S. And I want to get a noise, and there is a few different noise we can use here. We can use a turbulent noise. There is a lot of different noise types: the Perlin, original Perlin, alligator, simplex, sparse convolution, and etc. We have a nice curl noise here, which I basically add to the velocity noise, because it's create nice curly result. But there is another type of a noise. It's called an A flow noise, so anti-aliased flow noise. And the thing is, it can create nice animated noise. So I don't need to animate the noise using some like an offset stuff or something like that. And inside of this anti-aliased flow noise, I can choose 4D input and 3D noise. All right, so now if you have a 4D input, what does it mean 4D? If you go here in position, you can see that it have a little bit different color. So let me just add it here. So our vector 3D vector, because it has 3 values, have the green color. So it's like light green color. But this has more like closer maybe to yellow. So it's very bright green color. And you can see that we have the vector 4. So this means that we have 4 different values for this vector. And how I can convert my position 3D vector to my 4D position, I can add another value. So in my case, I want to use the vector 3 with my vector to vector 4. So this node allows us to take the vector value from here and some float value from here and mix it to create a 4 value vector. All right, so we take position, and what the next float vector I want to use? I want to use the time. So now when we use the time, it's going to allow us to to set up the animation for my noise. So now I take the velocity direction. I can just take and create some vector and add this velocity to my noise. It doesn't matter how we can apply like this. All right, and then put this into velocity. So I create input parameters from this node to have an ability to change something here. So before let me just unplug for a moment this thing. So I just want to add some noise, add some direction, velocity direction. So I want to put my smoke somewhere here, mainly on X, positive X. So you can type like, I don't know, maybe like 5, I don't know, 7, get me velocity. I want to see it. But just a little bit down. So not like horizontal, a little bit, just -1 to Y and X. So you can see it's going a little bit down here. And now let's add a noise. So connect it here and go to the set. I want to play a little bit with the frequency, so we can add like 0.5, and basically I want to increase in amplitude because we can't see too many noise from here, and 5, maybe even more, like maybe 8. And I want to increase the maximum of octaves to maybe 10. So it's not too many changes here, but if you play this stuff, let me just play it here. You can see that we have like a moving, like, I don't know, like an underwater, something like this. A nice flow noise. And I like it. And if you want to play with the speed of this noise, you can always go here and go to the time, and you can reduce this time. You can use divide or multiply constant. Multiply constant, and multiply it like, I don't know, 0.5 if you want to reduce the time, and if you want to, you can increase the time, make multiplier like 3, I don't know, like 5 times, because you see there is a lot of noise because this smoke moving very, very fast. You can see the speed is huge, so we can play a little bit with the time. Okay, so we have a noise from there, and let me just close it to this. We have a party source, so we have a velocity. Let's go to geometry spreadsheet. We have velocity, density, p-scale, and a temperature. That's what we need. So the next thing is going to volume rasterize attributes. Volume rasterize attributes. And connect it here, geometry density, temperature, and velocity. So it should have all 3 fields here: density, temperature, velocity. And definitely I want to add the noise, because I don't like a flat, fully solid circle here. So add the attribute noise. But I want to use not a CD, I want to use the density and temperature. Okay, so multiplicative and 1D, because I changed my float attribute. Should be animated and do the remap. So -1 should be good. And let me just increase the pulse duration. So a little bit slower for this noise. All right, should be like that. Yeah, gonna leave the start at FBM and minimum. So if there are some settings below 0, you can see the difference. Yeah, you can feel this. Good. So this is my noise, and go to Pyrosolar, maybe increase the particle scale just a little bit, maybe like 2.5 should be good. All right. Let's go to the null object, and that will be my density out. Cool. And you can use this source for the smoke. Now let's create a dub network for getting simulation. So that will be smoke sim. Go here, and as we did Pyrosolver, smoke object, you already know this stuff, so I will add this. Oops, sorry. Oh no, what a force, that's all. I just think that it's wrong node, but it's all correct here. And with the smoke object, I decrease division size. Oh, okay, I can leave it for now 0.2 because I don't know how big container I want to use here. And creation frame, solid creation frame, I guess. And let's get into my source. So smoke source, density out, and we choose the source smoke sink or source smoke. Density, temperature, and velocity. So I don't want to change for now, nothing here. I don't know how many density, temperature I want to add here. So gas, not rasterize. Precisely dynamic and connected. I connected here. Right, so now let's back there, and I can get my size, my source size, name that, and you can see it's transforming stuff here. So what we can do, what else we can do here? So let's just add the preset I already have here, but anyway, some of students want to know how to do that. Anyway, we can create an automatic preset which just allow us to find the size of my emitter. Okay, so how we can do this? Go to edit parameter interface and go to the operation path and add this to properties, accept. So now we have a label here, but I want to change it. It should be something like I don't know, source object, and can copy this here and accept. I want to get my volume source path, so this subpath, copy parameter, paste here relative references. Okay, and now I can use the size and center to find the scale, size actually, yes, size and center of my source. How I can do that? For the size, I can use the bounding box expression. So I want to copy this copy parameter and paste it inside of bounding box. So paste relative reference. Have a channel, just should be a string because channel S, source object, and then I need to set that this is gonna be my D dimension X size. All right, and now you can see that we have 3.8. So guess it works. Copy this into the Y axis and for Z axis. All right, so now we have the container with the same size as the source, but we need to put it on the center of the source. So now we're going to use the centroid command or expression. We're going to call it centroid. It can help us. And again, we can paste relative reference here, channel as source object. Now the dx, dx call dy dd. So now we have this source, actually this container, the same size of my source, and I can save it and save preset and get a smoke source. All right, let's save this preset. And now anytime if you want to, you can add a smoke object, just connect it here and go to preset and just smoke source. And our container have the same size as the smoke. So not always, not on all scenes, you want to have the same size or source. Sometimes you create a huge container to define the area of an explosion or simulation, doesn't matter. And then using the gas size fluid dynamic node. But anyway, for the test and for the starting points is good, but you need to know that, or you need to understand that you need to have the volume source 1 name for the volume source when you add this preset. So after that, you can rename it as you want. You can name it like a smoke source, source or something like that. It doesn't matter because it will apply those changes too. But this you should do after you add this preset for the small object. So you have some limitation. Anyway, so now if you go here, let me just add another last thing I want to add here is my skylight, because I like to have some shadows. Always when you work with the smoke, you want to have some shadows. So enable lighting viewport, don't want to do that. And go to my camera. I guess that I need to set this sun from the right direction, like in this image is going from the left corner, left upper corner. Okay, so let's go to skylight and we can rotate it. And when we rotate our skylight, we rotate the sun actually. So you can see that we have the sun, and I don't know, so 45, 50 is an up, a wrong way, and 90 and something like that. Maybe like 90, but make it a little bit more. Like 60, somewhere like that. That should be fine, I guess. Okay. So now let's dive inside of this simulation. Now we have smoke. But before I press simulation, I want to add a ground plane. Ground plane. So if you go to the ground option, ground object, you can see that I place it into 0. So it doesn't move anyway. So the same setup for my ground plane, just merge this with the pyro. I don't need to move this plane anyway. Can turn off visibility. And yeah, for the ground, I don't want to see it. And for the source. Yeah. Now it's fine. Go to flash shaded maybe. Let's see, what do we have? Let's play it. So we have, oh, sorry. I forget to uncheck my clamp to maximum. And I definitely want to add more padding, maybe like 0.7. And I have the X plus like 3 times upper my padding. Come on, forget to uncheck it. Yeah, forget to uncheck it. So I press it, but it doesn't. Okay, now it's fine. Now it works. Now my smoke is going ahead. Hooray. Okay, let's look on that from my camera. Definitely need to change something here because it's too slow. But we have some result. We have a smoke. That's nice. Yeah, it's pretty slow. Very, very slow. Okay, so we can fix it. Let's go to smoke object, and before I go dive inside of different pyrosolar stuff, we need to play with the velocity. So as you can see, there is a pretty dense smoke. In fact, you can see the difference between this smoke and this. I get this because this smoke from the shuttle and this from the rocket. So they have different engines. Anyway, we can play with this setup. I want to work with more like this smoke, okay? And let's create a bigger density amount. So we can add the scale to have a nice dense stuff, and the same stuff for the velocity. 10 times bigger velocity. The same temperature, I don't want to have a huge temperature. You can see that this smoke doesn't rise up too fast, so it may be not too hot for now. It's like has a nice cooling because of the speed. Have a lot of detail here, and we need to play with that. So, well, it's something a little bit better. Definitely something a little bit better. Let me just play it with the flipbook. So, as I said in at one of my lessons, the first thing we need to work with is a dynamic. So we have a reference, and we can play with this reference. We can now we understand how fast the smoke should move. But it's something like this, similar like that. But my smoke is begin to create just a little bit faster than that. Maybe even a little bit more velocity. You can see that our voxel size is very big. We have huge boxes over there, but anyway, just test. So, what else I can do? We can see that our smoke is going too low. We need somehow to push this smoke upward. And this nice shot to show you how to work with an expand, with the divergence. So if we go to a smoke object, we go to divergence field, go back here somewhere, we can see that there is no actually divergence over there, because if you go to this, you can see the temperature, collision pressure, but divergence is something like created like expansion, creating this fire using the gas release node, gas release parameter. And we don't have, if we have a fire, we can play with the gas release to make more expansion. With the smoke, we don't have it. And that's why we can add this divergence for my simulation, add an expansion. And again, if you look at our reference, you can play it. Okay, just to stop my simulation, I want to see just in background. You can see some over here, we need to create an expansion. Like, wow, and it should be like that. Okay, go to smoke source, and I will take my volume rasterize attribute node, and then they do the transform. I want to make a copy of this source and translate it like 10. Come on, update. Oh, please update. And we're back here. So I make a translation like a 14 meters here. And now what I want to do, how many fields do I have? I have a density, temperature, and velocity, so I can remove some of those. So I don't want to have a temperature. I just want to leave a density. So I can call it keep density. Keep. Yep. So what I want to do, if I type name, density, and delete non-selected. So we can still have a density field here. You can see it. Okay. And I'm going to use this density as a divergence. Now we will see how it works. So connect this, and it should be out. Let me expand, call it expand. Doesn't matter how we call that. And go back to smoke object. Let's duplicate it, hold null key, and that's gonna be my expand source. Let's merge that together. But before I do this, well, I can match it like here. I want to add another one source, and it's out expand. Well, expand out, doesn't matter. And I want to remove this temperature. I want to remove this vector. And I will leave a density and transfer this to diver. Oh, let's use this source expand. So let me just add this. I'm too lazy to type this long word. So divergence, that we can use, but we don't have a divergence in source volume, so we can type it to density. So we grab a density and put it into the divergence field. So we had a good expand. Can play with that like 10 maybe. Let's see how we will apply it. Connect this to the Pyro solver. So now we have the expansion and the smoke source. Let's see how it's looking here. Let's hide as object and flat shade it. Just, oh, was wrong. Mine got resize something, I don't know. Doesn't work properly, but it should work properly. Okay, so here you go. You can see, I think that is working. Our divergence. But it's pretty small influence. Go to main camera, yep, something like that. So maybe go and make it 30. So it's just a scalar field, and we can use this field to expand, to push our smoke. Oh, it's working nice, but now it's like push it in backward, and I don't want to do that, and I don't want to do that. And yeah, we need to work with that. I think that I will animate this stuff. So go to frame 25 and okay. So somewhere, yeah, I can stop it. Somewhere here in frame, I don't know when it's going here, you can see that we have some backward force. I don't want to get this. So till frame like maybe 17, when my smoke should to go through the expand, I will add a keyframe and type 0. Okay, so I don't want to have any divergence till frame 17. And maybe somewhere on frame 36, I will increase this number to 30. We can play a little bit with the line here, so maybe like this, so more linear start and fade out. Let's see, go to a flipbook, and that's how it looks. It's a pretty interesting idea. So you have like expansion, wow. Yeah, it's looking pretty nice. Okay, so the next stage for this lesson is getting the microsolars.